This place is cursed. Cursed.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula.
I saw the boogeyman. I saw him outside.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of Tomb of Terrors with me, Old Man Brad. Whether you are new to the show or returning for another episode, thank you so much for giving me a listen. And if you love the show, drop me a review on your favorite podcast app or become a patron, patreon.com/oldmanbrad. Make sure you follow me on Letterboxd. Just look for Old Man Brad. You can see all the watches that I do. So this is my first episode of 2026. Took a little time off for the holidays, spending time with friends and family and just decompressing, relaxing, enjoying the time. I'm back for more. This year I think is going to be so much fun. I have a year-long series that I'm doing about Spanish actor, director, writer Paul Botchii. I will have one every month through the year, plus even more over on Patreon. Can't wait for those to kick off. But for the first episode of 2026, bringing another interview. I have an interview with Tom Botchii talking about his new film, Relentless, that just came out on VOD. But before we dive into the interview, if you are in the Cincinnati area, come out to Frightful Fridays on the third Friday of the month. I'm so thankful to be partnered with the Esquire Theater to be able to host a horror screening each month. 2025, we had a bunch of great screenings. We're going to keep it rolling in 2026. We're kicking it off. This first 3 months of the year, I'm doing Italian horror. So for January, we are kicking things off with Dario Argento's Deep Red from 1975, which will be playing this Friday, the Friday that this episode comes out. So on January 16th at 10 p.m., come out to the Esquire and let's watch a movie together. All right, let's dive into Relentless.
What's on the laptop?
Do you know how long it took me to find you?
You took my whole life away.
Now, it's your turn.
What did you do?
Someone has to pay.
A homeless man targets a well-off elite in a home invasion, but it will take an unhinged level of brutality to find out his true motive. This is written and directed by Tom Botchii. It stars Jeffrey Decker, Shuhei Kinoshita, and others. Like really, they're pretty much the only two casts. There are others in the cast that kind of pop up here and there, but it's just those two. I'm not going to give too much up front here before we roll into the interview. I will say I did enjoy the movie. There were moments with nonstop action. It starts out as this home invasion and then it rolls along and then you find out more. I really enjoyed Tom's previous film, Arctic, that came out in 2019. You know, he reached out to me saying that he did this film. I was like, oh yeah, man, I loved your previous movie. I'm all in for this. So let's go. And Relentless, I mean, it's a fun time. I'll dive a little bit more into it after the interview. Before I ramble on anymore, let's roll into my interview with Tom Botchii, and I'll talk to you on the other side. My guest today has given us a very personal story with the short film 11 Minutes, done a dark, gritty film about a comic book-obsessed serial killer in Arctic, and his new film, Relentless, will take us on an action-packed thrill ride. I want to welcome in writer-director Tom Botchii. How you doing today, Tom?
Well, good. Thanks for having me.
How did you come up with the idea for Relentless?
The idea for Relentless was this idea about I really love cat and mouse chases in action movies or thrillers. And I always just kind of thought, like, can't that be the whole movie? Like, what if it's just two people just like after each other the whole movie and that's it? And then maybe you backtrack a little, do some character development. But in general, the idea is my inspiration was like, I just want to do an awesome cat and like that's my favorite part of thrillers. It's
Okay.
just like the cat and mouse chase. So that was where the original motivation came. And then some of the film talks about like different angles on targeting and revenge. And some of those things are things I've personally experienced. Like I've dealt with some targeting. I'm an immigrant, I'm Polish, and growing up in a small town, it's what happens if you're any type of different, whatever, you're gonna get it. So yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to combine those two ideas and just see where it led me and explore this idea of like things being justified. Like I feel like in every film there's like these villains, there's these good guys, but nothing ever feels justified. People just are because they are.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to be like, well, but why is this person considered bad? And is he really bad? And vice versa. So that's kind of like all my motivation for wanting to do this film.
And it all comes from looking at it from their perspective. This is how they think, and this is how the other person thinks as they collide, kind of thing.
Yeah, and the other idea was I wanted the film I feel like serves as a metaphor for the Twitterverse. Like it's just like loud, like yelling and screaming, but no one's really like listening. And I felt like that would be a really interesting like dichotomy for two characters. Like what if it's about these two people seeking revenge and the way they're doing it, like they're not so different, but they don't know that because they're not listening. They're just attacking, you know? And I just thought that was an interesting perspective from a character's point of view. You know, I was like, what if I just made them Twitter characters?
There are moments of nonstop action in it, and then you kind of slow it down, and you have these two men basically just kind of, at first you think, okay, one man's attacking another, this man's fighting back, but then you find out more and more as you go along. How did you balance like that, the action piece with the character piece? Was that difficult for you?
It was a little difficult because part of doing this film was we're an indie film, so you're working with the locations you have, you're working with the story you want to present, and sometimes that shifts based on what you could actually get. And then there was also things that happened during the shoot. For example, we thought the water bottle, there's a scene with the water bottle. I thought that would be a scene that lasted like 4 seconds long. And then when we started watching the performance and we are shooting it, that actor, Shuhei Kinoshita, was really great at just like taking that small moment and turning it into a struggle that the audience goes on with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, for those who haven't seen it, it's a scene where one character is tied to a chair and he has to crawl to a water bottle. That's it. We were able to pull so much out of that, like so much juice out of that, like lemon when we were squeezing it. It was just like, you know, there are certain scenes like that where when I'm in the edit, I want to explore them more and extend them. There's a scene that takes place inside a car wash where two characters fight. And when we were doing it and we were there, it was like, oh, this is much cooler than we thought. We got to get a shot of like you on the hood. We got to get a shot of this. We got to get a shot of that. When it came to the edit, where I was trying to balance was like, I don't want too much aspects of their character development to take over, but also I want the audience to know who they are. Also, I want the audience to be drawn in by the fun stuff. And then I want the audience to like forget that the layers are being unveiled to them during the dramatic portions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it was like interesting playing with the pacing, and there was very deliberate choices in the fact that like the film starts off very hot. And somewhere in the middle, we kind of slow down a bit and get to know people. But there's also this like building of tension that happens slowly there that I wanted the audience to sit with for a while, you know, and feel tension rising slowly and get more layers every time these two characters are in a scene together. And yeah, and then I wanted to kind of ramp back up slowly. So that's, you know, that it was intentional, but yes, it was difficult to like get everything exactly as I had it written down versus, you know, when you go to like a car wash to shoot, you could write characters fighting a car wash, but
Yeah.
also you're dealing with like these tumblers and then freaking soap hitting all this other stuff. So it's like pretty difficult to plan for accordingly. Like it's going to happen exactly like this. And it's like, well, it's hard to plan for a turban.
With that, you know, you say stuff like there was a car wash, we're fighting in a car wash. Were there any big changes you had to make from script to shooting as you were going on?
Yes, there was this really fun bit I had written that was about. There was two fun bits I really appreciated that, like, after I got rid of them, I was like, well, I didn't really need those. But one was I wanted to start the movie with a banana peel hitting a car window and the
Okay.
banana peel slowly sliding down the car window, and then the window opens, and then this guy's just literally littering outside of the car, and that's would be the character introduction for Teddy, where you realize he's homeless because he's just like in a random parking lot,
Yeah.
literally littering, like, and I just thought it was like so funny, but it also felt so. When I started sitting down with the film and watching it, it felt like so out of character, like is Teddy funny or is he intense? And so I was getting like I was shaping the character like too broadly, and I had to hone in on the edit and like cut all that, like be like, all right, he's starting to be cool. We don't want him to be cool. We want him to be like dastardly and a little vicious. And then we find out why he is that way.
Yeah.
The other was when I originally wrote this, I wanted a couple of the cat and mouse chases to pay like homage to some of my favorite movies and just other action bits because the idea was I was going to try to do something similar for far less of a budget. Ultimately, one of the scenes I wrote was filming this home invasion where there would be this scene in this hallway with all these mirrors from this extravagant house. And, I mean, it was just, like, impossible to find, and I was like, "Why am I trying to pay homage to Enter the Dragon, like, right now? Like, we don't even have enough money to feed people today. Like, what are we doing here?" And so I was like, "That's gotta go," you know? So there was the film was, like, very ambitious, but it was far more ambitious as a script,
Okay.
and that's where, like, part of editing isn't just editing in the post world, it's also editing your script, it's also editing on the fly when you're there, you know, like, well, we don't have this big mirror hallway, you know, all reflections based, you know, location to shoot a crazy fight scene in. Plus, what we had set up, I wanted to make sure like we could tear apart a place. And to bring in a bunch of mirrors, it's like, okay, we can't tear apart a bunch of mirrors because we have to then pay to fix the location. You know, like
Yeah.
this is a horrible choice to make as a filmmaker. Why did I write this? You know, so yeah, I mean, there were certain things that I wanted in originally, but then later it was like I came to the realization those weren't the best ideas to present the story in the most like accurate, like pulse pounding way. You know,
This film, you get your introduction to Teddy, and then it turns into kind of it starts out as a home invasion. So you're like, okay, which way is this going to go? And then it goes to this action chase. Did you ever think about leaning more, say, more action or more kind of a horror centric piece to it at any point?
a little bit, but the truth is, like I love action films, and action films are like in my blood. Like it's what I love probably most in life. I grew up a huge pro wrestling fan, and that got me into like fight scene choreography, and I have a small background in wrestling itself. And so it was like, I just wanted to really hone in on that because as an indie film director, you only get so many chances to make a project, and a project takes so long. And I had already done a horror film. So I really wanted to do like what I love most. I think for the story of Arctic, it fit best within a horror film. But this story, I felt like really fit as like an actioneer, just like just I wanted to focus on those fight scenes. I wanted to focus on like the chase and all that. And so I wanted to it's not like I wanted to lean more horror. I played with at times having more fighting in it and less fighting. And ultimately, like what I would love to do, and maybe this is the next time out, is one long fight scene as a movie. But it comes with its own set of challenges to make that gripping enough to where you have like enough
Yeah.
like fleshed out elements that are like by the way, I hate that term fleshed out, but anyways, enough elements where you can truly understand the characters and their motivation rather than it's just one person angry at another and
Yeah.
they're I wanted some more complexity to the characters and I just wanted to explore this dynamic of like, okay, who's the bad guy here, and also why do you think that person's the bad guy. Like, I love, like, this idea of leaving it open to audience interpretation rather than this idea of me clearly telling you, like, character A is bad, character B is not bad, So, I think for this story, it worked best with, like, more of a balance
Mhm.
between the 2 and just ramping up the action when it happens and having it feel really intense. To me, more important than having more action was actually having chaotic action. Like, I really like this idea of, like, chaos and some reality thrown in, this idea of, like, these are people who don't know how to fight, and when they fight, it's ugly versus, like, this super choreographed, rehearsed, like, great punches come that Van Damme kick, I don't know if you remember that from the
Yes, I do.
late '80s, early '90s where he does this flying spin thing. We don't know how to do that. Like, we're just, like, we're fighting scrappy and mean and, I want, like, fingers in the mouth ripping at, you know, cheeks and fish hooking, eye grabbing. Like, that's what I was more so interested, not just from a intensity standpoint, but also I don't get to see that much when I
Mhm.
watch action films. There's especially right now, there's a lot of emphasis on choreography and like these long takes. And, I'm an editor by trade and I love the idea of like editing for impact. Like, so I wanted to present chaos and still get a story with the fight scenes.
And about how long was your shoot for this?
I think we were supposed to have 3 rehearsal days and 10 shooting days, and as soon as we landed in Idaho to start this shoot, we just started shooting, like, the day we landed. We were just like, "Well, we're here, what can we knock out right now?" So, we probably shot 13 days, and then we had a couple pickup days in LA where I just shot shots of, Jeffrey Decker, who played the role of Teddy, just kinda running around back alleys, running from, an imaginary car chasing him somewhere off in the distance, and, I was able to piece those scenes together to have, like, one coherent scene, but, yeah, so I would say it's a total about, like, 15 shooting days.
You shot all this chaotic action and everything else together. You got it edited and you premiered it at Grimfest in October. How did that screening, how did audiences take to the film?
I think audiences really enjoyed it. I've screened 2 films at Grimfest so far, and I really like Grimfest because the screen they use and the sound, everything technically is, like, so pristine and so much better than, like, my movie is. You know what I mean? Like, when you see it on that screen, you're like, "Oh, shit," like, it's like I knew what I was doing. Uh, so that's what you want from a film festival. And also they provide like a lot of opportunities for you to interact with people who are actually attending the screenings. So, we got to take like a lot of pictures. We had a really fun Q&A. There's a lot of people who came to my first feature, which premiered there. It was either end of 2019 or 2020. I can't remember at this moment. I think it was 2019. And they remembered me from that premiere and they came to this one
Oh,
and
nice.
it was just like a really interesting interaction. There was like a lot of people there who I remember from that screening and so I really like, the idea of taking a film there because they have like a loyal kind of rabid fan base that always comes back every year. And they're generally always in the same location. So it's like it's something people do every year, every October. It's part of their like Halloween festivities. Is
Okay, yeah.
earlier in the month they got to go to Grilling Fest.
And now it's available on VOD for people to rent and purchase digitally. What do you hope like audiences getting to see it at home if they're like flipping through? What do you hope audiences kind of get from the movie as they like, oh, what's this one?
I'm actually interested to hear what audiences think of it in terms of like some of these like themes and concepts I laid out. I've had a lot of people really like a lot of the feedback I received is people really like it for this idea of like this blurring of the lines of who's good and who's bad.
Mhm.
And people really love the action in it. More so, it's like I'm interested to see what they think of it. And it's interesting. Sometimes you put out a film and people will tell you what they think of your film, like the messaging they got from it. And it's something that's like way deeper than you ever thought. Like, I was like, I just thought it'd be cool if he like ran through a car wash. And they're like, well, what it means is society is holding you down. Like, well, okay. You're right. That was my intention, and it's like, so it's always fun to see what their takes are. And sometimes like a film will have a much deeper meaning to somebody else than it will to me. I've had a lot of people I've had a lot of Asian Americans reach out to me about the film and about what they've experienced and what happens in the film. There's a specific element of the film that a lot of them really relate to. And that's like nice to get that feedback. Other than that, like I think one audience I really want to connect with. I feel like every movie is slightly me trying to reconnect with this old wrestling fandom that I've had forever and that crowd, because like there's elements of this film that definitely sound like, an extreme wrestling death
Yeah.
match, And like I really want that audience to like understand there's a movie for them that they can take in with lots of story, characters that develop, and also some of that extreme wrestling you love, like elements of that are dispersed throughout this film. So it's like this weird thing inside me. I don't know why. It's like I always want to reconnect with like wrestling fans and people who love Brandon Lee. Like, those are the two.
Okay.
Like I love Brandon Lee growing up. I love fight scenes put together by Jeff Yamada, Brandon Lee, Al DeYoung. And so people who are a fan of that era of filmmaking, it's like I have always just wanted to do things that like give a taste of that, but also give a hint of something new.
If you could describe your film to someone in just one word, what would it be?
Relentless. No, I would probably say chaos. There's a lot of
Okay.
like,
Yep.
really
I could.
intense chaos in there,
Yes.
and chaos was one of the elements I wanted to capture. That's what I think of when I think of the Twitter sphere. That's what I think of when I think of targeting revenge and these fight scenes. It's just chaotic. It's chaos.
Well, Tom, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. Where can people follow along to you to see more from whether it's Relentless or what you kind of have coming next?
You can follow me on Instagram at Tom Botchii and on Twitter or X, Botchii. I mean, I don't. Do people even post to Twitter anymore? I don't. But really, Instagram's the only thing I kind of somewhat post to now at this point. But pretty much all socials, Tom Botchii. You could find me with that handle. And the film is available on iTunes, available on Amazon, it's available on Vudu. There's lots of options out there for you if you're looking to track down the film right now.
Thank you for chatting with me, and everybody go check out Relentless. And I'm gonna check out Arctic too. I enjoyed that one.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate that.
I want to thank Tom again for chatting with me. It's always nice getting those behind the scenes stories, hearing, he just wanted to make an action movie. But Relentless, I mean, it starts out with this man. He's a homeless man. He's living in his car, and then, he pulls out his phone and he's listening to this message from what you assume is either wife, girlfriend, previous partner. Like, he's down on his luck. Some shit happened to him to get him to where he is right now. And he's holding on to this piece of his life, this important part of his life. And you're like, from there, you're like, I want to know what happens. What happened to him to get to where he is? And then from there, you move into this. It starts out kind of as a home invasion movie. He breaks into this wealthy man's house for something. You just think, okay, he's breaking in to steal some stuff, but he's actually after him and after some other things in his house. This man fights back, and we get these action pieces. And even Tom said in the interview, they're not these choreographed, perfect fight scenes. These fight scenes are very raw. And like if someone broke into my house and I was fighting them or had to try to fight them off, it feels like stuff like that. Like how when you get hit, you go down and you're like, holy crap, that hurt more than I thought. Or you're punching and you hurt your hand, and it's not the perfect fight. It's It's uncoordinated. It's dirty. It's all of that. And that's kind of what happens. They're fighting in this house, and then it goes out to the street. Man gets away. And then as you kind of go along in between these, where they kind of end up back together fighting, I think I saw a review out there that someone said, think of it like Peter Griffin and the chicken fighting, how it just kind of goes and then stops, and it just pops up every so often. That's kind of like what this is. You get this action piece, you get some story, a little bit of backstory of some motivations with more action pieces in it. There's a scene in a gas station that I really liked. He talked about the scene in the car wash. It's a great fight scene. And then you go along and you learn more motivation of why this man, why he's homeless, what brought him to do this, why he lost his significant other, what happened there. And then you have the other side of this man, this well-off man, of why he did what he did. He doesn't know who this person is. And there's this whole story behind it of why. I think Tom captured it perfectly when he was like, it's kind of like Twitter. Everybody just kind of yelling at each other. It is kind of like that. You get this darker side of not only human nature. Starts out with a home invasion. You get the dark side of humans and revenge and what they'll do to try to right a wrong. And then you have the other side of they don't either know that they did wrong or think they did wrong. So there's two different forms of thinking from these two men collide. So it is one of those who's right, who's wrong, who's evil, who's not, who's what and what, and you throw a bunch of fight scenes in throughout. There's a few scenes that kind of reminded me of The Transporter, the scene where he fights he ties the things to his feet and fights with the oil on the ground, except they don't fight on oil. There's something else that he wraps up. Even some of the chaos reminded me of, if you've seen Crank, but this is an enjoyable film. It is, a 90-minute breeze. You get in, it kind of gets you going, slows you down for a minute, gets you going again, slows you down for a minute as you roll along. Overall, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was just a fun watch. And as I said before, I enjoyed Tom's previous film, Arctic, which is a horror movie about a comic book obsessed serial killer, which I highly recommend checking out. Relentless is available on VOD now. You can rent it, purchase it on digital. As with anything in the world, it'll probably be streaming eventually. I definitely say add it to the beginning of the year, your 2026 watch list. Put it on that watch list. Add Arctic to that watch list too, if you want more of a straight up horror side of things. But yeah, there you go. There are my thoughts on Relentless. Every episode, I pair these two movies together. The movie that I watched with something else that you can do a double feature at home with. And I know, Relentless isn't straight up horror. It has horror elements, the horror of human nature, the home invasion piece of it. I think you should pair this for your double feature. I mentioned it before with Crank. Jason Statham. It is another movie that is just chaotic. It's just full bore, nonstop. Go for it. I know, again, it's not horror, but it works with this film. So Relentless and Crank are my double feature this week. It's good to be back in 2026. New recorder, new recordings, new series coming. There'll be plenty of more interviews throughout the year. I'll have another episode later this week on a found footage film called Infirmary. Just make sure you subscribe to the show and you won't miss any of that. And as I said before, the Paul Naschy series will be kicking off in a couple weeks with Frankenstein's Bloody Terror. Will be the first film in this series throughout the year. There will be one movie each month, except 1 month we'll have two. There's 13 movies overall throughout the year from Paul Naschy I will be talking about, as well as 7 additional films over on Patreon. It's good to be back. I can't wait to bring you more episodes throughout the year. Just snuggle up in that blanket, turn off the lights, because it's okay to be scared. We'll talk to you later, everybody.